Massively multiplayer online games, one of the greatest genres ever created, hundreds of games, thousands of hours, and millions of players. The online gaming world is busier now than it's ever been before, and the range of games available means no matter what kind of adventure you want to have, you will be able to find it. But these games aren't without their flaws. So in this series, let's examine the 7 deadly sins of MMO design. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Drive Hayes. I've been playing and analysing MMO games on YouTube for several years now, and over that time I've come to notice some constants in the development cycle, small things that even big games can do, which really damage the overall experience. So let's analyse the third sin of MMO gaming: greed, or excessive monetization. Before we begin, please consider dropping a like on the video or subscribing to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss a single future video. A massive thank you to all my supporters on Patreon and Twitch who make all my content possible. Right, let's begin. Greed, probably the most well-known sin, an uncontrollable urge to acquire material wealth. Money, money, money. We all know someone greedy. As kids, we probably were all greedy, and now we know that greed is a slippery slope. A greedy person becomes known as just that, and once you're labelled as greedy, it's very hard to return from. It's a label that sticks and stays with you for a long time. In the business world, it's actually a very paradoxical sin, because while it may seem like a good idea to be greedy and charge a customer more for a service, if you charge them so much they never come back, you've actually priced yourself out of all of that potential future revenue. You've put them off ever coming back to you again. I was always told a good salesman can sell something once, but a great salesman can sell many things to the same person. Greed is an awkward sin to quantify, because a large amount of money to one person might be a trivial amount to another. So while I will discuss various costs and amounts in this video, it's important to remember what I'm really looking at is the excessive and needless use of monetization, places where it does not need to be. So how does greed tie in with MMO design? There are several ways, but I believe the worst offenders within the industry are these methods: excessive pre-release funding and promises of content, overpowered or important mechanical aspects locked behind paywalls, also known as the create the problem, sell the solution, and mixing monetization methods. So let's examine these. Before we get into this list proper, I need to make it clear that I believe artists should be paid for their work, and I'm including designers and developers, programmers and writers within the artist group. Many people work extremely hard to create and maintain these MMORPG games we play and enjoy, and these people do deserve to profit from their work. I have no issues with an artist profiting from their creation, but most often it's not the artists making the business decisions on these projects, it's the businessmen, the shareholders, the people who don't actually care for the artistic integrity of a project and only see the bottom line. To these people, the game is a money printing machine and the players are just customers to be charged again and again, and it's these people who suffer from greed. But unfortunately, it's these people who call the shots. It's also important to remember that monthly subscription services aren't necessarily a bad thing. That is a viable method and does have its place. I'll be looking at that later. Right, let's examine the main areas of greed. Number 1, pre-release funding. Many MMOs are being made right now. You can check out their websites, sometimes even download an alpha or a beta version to play. You can have a taste of the world, and many of these games give you the opportunity to help fund the game. You can supply a small amount of money to help make their dream a reality, and that's fine. It's your money, spend it how you like. We have sites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo just for this, but have you seen the lengths some games will go to and the packs they will try and sell you without even existing yet? Take Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, an MMO many are rather excited about, and it has various pledge levels on its website where you can give money to get exclusive in-game bonuses before it actually releases. Now, I may personally have several issues with paying for a product or service that doesn't exist yet, but putting my own feelings aside, I'm still shocked that the highest tier of pledge is the Ascendant tier, and joining that will cost you $10,000. Granted, you do get a lot of in-game items like titles and name reservations and stuff, access to an exclusive place and VIP forums, but the super special awesome thing you get with this package is the chance to design a raid or a dungeon with the Pantheon team. By paying $10,000, you can have the opportunity to do some work for them. To me, $10,000 seems greedy. How about everyone's favourite MMO that still doesn't exist, Star Citizen? This ship-faring sci-fi adventure has been in development as long as anyone can remember, and while it does have some playable footage, it's still considered not released. But that hasn't stopped them from selling access to the in-game ships. If you want to drop $30 or $40, the price of a full AAA game on PC, onto your own spaceship, you can, and you'll be good to go as soon as the game is out. But good luck surviving, because while you may have bought something small, someone else bought the Javelin. The Javelin was one of the most expensive ships in the game, costing an incredible $2,500. Along with the insane price tag, there were only 200 Javelins available, and they have all sold out. Remember, your money is your money, and you can spend it how you like. So while these examples may be excessive in my opinion, they may be nothing to you. You may be able to throw $10,000 or $2,500 around and not even notice it, so this element of monetization might not bother you. So now we move on from pre-release content and look at the second aspect of MMO greed, the locking of mechanical aspects behind paywalls, or as I explain it, create the problem, sell the solution. Remember how games are divided into the visual audio design covering the looks and sounds and everything superficial, and then the mechanical, which is how the game actually plays? Well, if a company want to charge extra for additional superficial stuff like skins and mounts and weaponry colors and titles and auras and things that don't actually affect the gameplay, that's kind of fine by me. Provided, and this is important, the cosmetics fit the overall aesthetic and theme of your world. If you're making a gritty, realistic fantasy game, keep the cosmetics gritty and realistic. The problem with cosmetics ruining immersion happens when you sell stupid, garish, or just downright idiotic cosmetics that ruin the experience for other players, but this is a discussion for another video. This is dumb, but it's not greedy. As long as the items for sale in-game don't affect the mechanical systems, they will never affect your ability to compete and succeed. But when the game starts selling things that do affect mechanical systems, that's approaching greedy, because they know that players will not be able to compete without buying it. Your game will be made up of many systems: movement, health, mana, armor, combat damage, inventory space, and each of these can be enhanced by a good designer, but the designers have no reason to provide you with the enhanced system for free, so they'll sell you the upgrade. I hate this method the most because it actually requires designers to look at the systems within their game and actively say, how can we make this worse? Which is the complete antithesis of what a good designer wants to do. The systems are designed to be strictly inferior, just so the upgrade to the best version can be sold as a product. If your game has a movement system, you can make the world super huge, so moving anywhere takes a long time, and then you can pay money to buy a potion or a mount to move faster. That's giving yourself a mechanical advantage. If your game has a health or death mechanic, you simply make higher level enemies very hard to kill or add a penalty to death. Then you let the players buy a scroll that instantly revives you and circumvents that mechanic. If you have an inventory system, how about limiting it and making players pay to rent the extra inventory bags for a few days? Or how about making dead enemies specifically difficult to loot and require an expensive pet to loot efficiently if you want to play the game at a realistic speed? All these examples are real, by the way. Runes of Magic requires you to buy your mount and then rent your bag space. Neverwinter sells you mass revive scrolls that can resurrect your whole team after a boss wipe. And Black Desert Online pretty much requires you to have looting pets to even be playable. This is my most hated aspect of modern MMO design, the simple fact that you know the designers want to make the best possible game they can, and yet are forced to hobble and limit their own systems. They release an inferior version of the game they could make, just to maintain the ability to sell access to the full, upgraded experience. The process of create the problem, sell the solution is easy to spot too. All you have to do is ask yourself two simple questions. Would the game be better if this was different? And can I pay to make it different? If yes, you're experiencing a designed problem. This is also the core of the pay-to-win argument. If your game has mechanical challenges within it that can easily be overcome or completely removed by items in your cash shop, then you are at risk of being labeled pay-to-win. And the final element of greed within an MMO is mixing the monetization methods. I said at the start that artists deserve to be paid, and I'm fully in support of companies charging for their products. If I'm going to enjoy a game for thousands of hours, it has definitely earned my money and I have no problem paying for it. But the method I pay for it should be carefully chosen and not excessively mixed. Sometimes you need to buy the actual game itself, like the Guild Wars 2 expansions or the Elder Scrolls Online, and then you can play forever. This is known as the buy-to-play, a one-time purchase for the lifetime of a game. Some games are free to download and play right now, but will have an optional monthly membership that gives access to more of them, such as RuneScape 3, Old School RuneScape, or the Final Fantasy XIV Trial. Some games require a monthly subscription to play, like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy XIV once you've already started paying. And some games have additional in-game cash shops that allow you to buy either cosmetic items and overrides like Guild Wars 2's costume shop, or useful in-game mechanical items like Neverwinter's Zen store. These methods are all viable. It's completely understandable a game would charge you to buy it, or charge you to play it, or charge you for additional items inside it. But it starts to become greedy when a game does multiple. Making money from your creation is fine, but greed starts to kick in when the amount of monetization in your game becomes excessive. If a player has to pay for the base game, and then pay a monthly subscription to play, and you have an in-game cash shop, you'll begin to turn the player base against you. RuneScape was a free game with a monthly membership and everyone was happy. Then Jagex was heavily invested in by Insight Ventures, and suddenly there was an in-game gambling shop known as the Squeal of Fortune and now Treasure Hunter Keys, which you spend real money on for the chance of rare items. Warcraft had its battle chest, where you not only had to buy the base game and then all of the expansions and then a monthly sub, but there's now also an in-game cash shop where you can buy mounts for upwards of £25. Black Desert Online is a buy-to-play game that then requires you to spend extra money on small microtransactions, mainly for pets, just so you can progress at a reasonable rate. Neverwinter is a free-to-download game, and to be fair, you can play it all the way to the end game, but if you want to avoid injuries from traps and access your bank anywhere, you can pay to become a VIP, and on top of that, you'll need to buy some Zen and convert it to Astral Diamonds to upgrade your companions and mounts if you want to be competitive. Monetizing your game is fine, and players are often more than willing to accept any method you choose. Just don't use every method, because at some point you will need to rely on the quality of your game to drive players to want to pay for it, instead of simply monetizing every aspect you can and hoping it ends up generating revenue. And that is the third sin of MMO design: greed. Charging users for a game that still isn't released, deliberately creating problems just to sell the solutions, or mixing multiple monetization methods to increase revenue to an excessive degree. Thank you for watching. Another huge thank you to my supporters on Patreon and Twitch who make all my content possible. If you're enjoying the series, you can support the Patreon from only £1 a month, or come chat live on Twitch, or join the Discord. Links are all in the description below. Cheers for your time, and as always, have a great day.